Good evening, and thank you for joining us. There could be big changes on the way if Thunder Bay chooses to adopt the recommendations laid out in a long-awaited program and services review prepared by Grant Thornton. There are 45 recommendations laid out in the document. The most jarring include closing the Centennial Conservatory, both city-owned golf courses, Port Arthur Stadium, and the Boulevard Lake Beach. Ryan Benazzo has more.
Supporters of the Botanical Conservatory have been fighting for years to save the facility from those who cite annual operating deficits and building deteriorations as reasons it should be on the chopping block. So it's no surprise to see Grant Thornton recommend that it be closed or sold to another organization that can afford to pay for the upkeep. The facility currently costs the city more than $620,000 a year to operate, and more than $2 million in repairs are needed to bring the building up to code. Consultants also see Port Arthur Stadium as a $113,000 annual drain on the public purse and say it should be closed or sold as well. Thunder Bay's two public golf courses haven't been spared from scrutiny either. The city could save $100,000 a year by closing them both, though it would still have to shell out $300,000 annually to maintain the lands until they can be sold, repurposed, or naturalized. Sun worshippers could lose the Boulevard Lake Beach, too, as it's been tagged for closure. And consultants say Thunder Bay could stand to lose at least 8 outdoor skating rinks. The city currently operates nearly 40 of them in the wintertime. There are dozens of other recommendations as well. For example, dissolving the Sister Cities Committee and reviewing how the city delivers childcare and care for the elderly at Jasper Place. It should be noted that many of these recommendations are designed to be rolled out over several years, and even if council accepts the report on Monday, it still has the authority to decide whether it will carry out all, some, or none of these recommendations. Nothing in this document is set in stone. Ryan Benazzo, TBT News.
Those recommendations come in the middle of a pandemic that's expected to cost the city about $13 million by the end of the year, and municipalities across the country are projecting record deficits. Senior levels of government thus far have made very few financial commitments to directly help cities ease that burden. Thunder Bay Superior North MP and Federal Health Minister Patty Hajdu notes funding to directly offset municipal operating deficits will have to come to the provinces. But she insists Ottawa will continue to support major infrastructure projects as it has done in the past.
The city of Thunder Bay, for example, is redoing the Boulevard Lake Dam. That's federal money there. Right across the street, we see the expansion of the Salvation Army housing project. That's federal money there. So we've been actively involved with municipalities. What we're saying is that we have a specific role and we'll continue to play that role and even play a larger role in some of the challenges municipalities are facing. But some of those operational costs, I think the appropriate conversation is with the provinces and territories.
Municipalities are legislatively barred from running a year-over-year deficit, meaning their only internal options to cover the costs of COVID-19 are to raise taxes, pull the money out of reserve, cut services, or cancel capital projects. The province has taken the wraps off a new tool to help track the spread of COVID-19. It's a contact tracing app that will keep track of cases and alert others if you've tested positive. Colin DeMello reports.
As Ontario reopens the economy and prepares for a second wave of COVID-19 in the fall, the provincial government is taking the wraps off of a new contact tracing app.
It's like a protective shield around us to a certain degree. Not 100%, but it's more of a protective shield.
Called COVID Shield, the app is designed to track who you have come in contact with and alert them if you have tested positive for COVID-19.
This Made in Ontario app will alert Ontarians and Canadians if they've been exposed to someone who has tested positive for COVID-19 in the last 14 days. The data will be anonymous and protect the privacy of the users.
Here's how the app works. Whenever you come in contact with someone else who has downloaded COVID Shield, your phones will begin to communicate via Bluetooth. Both phones will register anonymous information about the other phone, including how close you were to one another and for how long. Then, after you receive your COVID-19 test results, you'll get an 8-digit number from your public health unit. Input that number into the app, and it will automatically send out an alert telling anyone you've come in contact with that they have been exposed to someone who tested positive. It will debut in Ontario in 2 weeks and will be rolled out Canada-wide.
I want to stress that this app will be completely voluntary. It'll be up to individual Canadians to decide whether to download the app or not. But the app will be most effective when as many people as possible have it.
As for that second wave, Ontario's top doctor says this.
I still think it's possible that by working hard at this in the summer and we do all the right things in the right way, we could start working at flattening a second wave.
Province's modeling team is working to determine what that wave will look like.
After 3 months of video chats and waving through windows, a pair of Thunder Bay seniors facilities started allowing outdoor visits between residents and their loved ones today. Pioneer Ridge and Jasper Place have set up extra measures and precautions to ensure everyone's safety. Michael Mahorovich reports.
After averaging 250 virtual and window meetings a week for the past 3 months, families at Pioneer Ridge are now able to book in-person visits to see their loved ones. Lee Aiello finally got to see her mother, Violet Baglian. The two had to keep 6 feet apart with extensive measures put in place, but Linda Pollock, acting administrator at Pioneer Ridge, says everyone involved is just excited to take this major step forward.
We're actually very excited that the ministry directive came out that they can start gradual visits. So phase 1 of the gradual visits is to have an outdoor visit. So the team got together. It was announced last Thursday that it could start as early as today, and we were able to set up this beautiful area with some gazebo tents, and we have all our sanitizing protocols in place to make it a safe visit. And today and right now is our very first visit.
Anyone who books a meeting has to have tested negative for COVID-19 in the last 14 days and then goes through an extensive screening process. Lori Thibodeau visited her mother, Mary Gagnon, and was elated with just getting back to seeing her mom face to face.
Great, and it dawned on both of us. This is the first time my mom's even been outside to be in fresh air since everything began back in March.
Nearby retirement home Jasper Place has been following the exact same guidelines as Pioneer Ridge, so they have begun in-person outdoor meetings as well. Pollock says the Phase 3 guidelines have already been issued by the government and that they'll be ready to step into those when the time comes.
Phase 2 will start where outdoor visits could be 2 visitors, and we will gradually let essential visitors into the building with other strict guidelines. So they're phasing it in over a period of time, but we're really excited to see at least Phase 1 started, and we're very glad that all the safety rules are in place and feel comfortable that we can still keep a safe environment for our residents.
Michael Mahorovich, TBT News.
Several trailers and buildings were destroyed in an overnight fire at the Shabandawan Shores Resort. The blaze broke out around 12:30 this morning, and a young camper is being credited for calling 911 and alerting people to evacuate. Shabandawan and Conmee fire departments responded to the blaze and had it under control a few hours later. 4 privately owned trailers and lots were destroyed, as well as a public washroom building. None of the burned trailers were occupied at the time, and there were no injuries resulting from the fire. 16-year-old Carter Oliver was staying at the resort last night and was one of the first people to notice the fire break out. He promptly called 911 and woke up a neighbor who was on site. He admits, though, the fire didn't look too bad at first glance.
Well, I didn't think it was like a big deal at first, just because it looked pretty small, from where I was. So then I woke up my neighbor because I was out there by myself working with him, building decks. And so then I woke him up, and then we drove to the camp store, and then we just watched from there. Well, I knew lots of people that own the trailers, who are my friends, and they lost a bunch, so that's pretty sad. But I mean, at least no one was hurt, just material things, right? Everything could be replaced, so.
Volunteer fire officials say the damage would have been much worse if the wind was blowing harder last night. The cause of the fire is under investigation by the Office of the Fire Marshal. OPP and Kenora have one person in custody following an early morning fire on the shores of Lake of the Woods. Shortly before 9 o'clock Wednesday morning, police and Kenora fire crews received a call to a boathouse along Golf Course Bay. The structure and at least one boat had allegedly been set ablaze by a man who then fled into the nearby bushes. As fire crews doused the flames and recovered pieces of debris from the water, police and their canine unit were dispatched to search for the suspect. A 22-year-old man was later apprehended and faces several charges, including arson, break-and-enter, and theft under $5,000. The man appeared in Kenora court today to answer to the charges. Thunder Bay police are reporting a major fentanyl seizure. It came as officers executed a search warrant at a South Brody Street residence Wednesday afternoon. The search turned up more than a pound of the dangerous drug with an estimated street value of $275,000. $15,000 in cash was also seized. A Toronto man and a man and woman from Thunder Bay are all facing charges. A notorious downtown hotel has been temporarily closed for business. Signage is posted on the Midtown Inn on Cumberland Street with the front doors to the hotel locked. According to multiple guests, all short-term occupants have been removed from the building by management. The 5-story building, formerly known as the Shoreline Hotel, was rebranded last year under new ownership and management. But in recent months, a large number of drug busts and one murder have occurred at the Midtown, prompting city police to single out the building as a concern. Attempts to contact the local general manager were unsuccessful. The Toronto-based owner would only say that the closure is temporary, and he promised to provide an update next week when he arrives in Thunder Bay. The Beacon restaurant located in the building is still open for deliveries. The group looking to purchase the bankrupt Hoido restaurant and other former Finlandia Association properties says there has been progress, but red tape has slowed their efforts considerably. The group is called the Finlandia Cooperative, and they continue looking to secure funds. To this point, the cooperative's recently opened bank account has nearly $6,000 in it. That's in addition to the almost $24,000 they've raised from the group's GoFundMe page. The group is in the midst of becoming a not-for-profit cooperative, but the process could take up to 6 months, and that's time they likely don't have. So they're turning to local MPPs to lobby the Ministry of Government and Consumer Services to speed up the process. Directors Paula Hoppanen and Lindsay Williams explain why they need to become a not-for-profit cooperative.
In some cases, it's, the financing that you can go after requires you to be incorporated. For example, if we pursue an idea of going with community bonds, you have to be incorporated to do that. Or even if we want to own a building, being incorporated makes that a little bit easier than being an unorganized or an unincorporated entity.
Well, the stakeholder model is definitely a more community-based approach to this. So there's definitely going to be a lot more community involvement. So the board will be elected by community members of the Finlandia, and they'll have much more of a voice than they did before.
Hoppanen is also asking members of the community looking to rent out the hall to send them a letter expressing their interest, which the group can use as endorsements in their business plan. One of Thunder Bay's biggest lotteries is going online due to the difficulties in selling standard tickets due to COVID-19. Starting today, officials with the Fort William Rotary House Lottery are allowed to start selling tickets online. The grand prize home in River Terrace is valued at nearly $600,000. The final draw date had previously been pushed back from Canada Day to October 12th. The early bird draws will now take place in July. People can purchase a ticket by going to the Fort William Rotary's website and using a credit card, with their tickets being mailed to them. On the other hand, anyone who has already bought a ticket as of yesterday can return it for a refund, but they must do so by June 28th. A long line of smiling graduates stood in front of St. Patrick's High School today as they received their diplomas and took their final steps as high school students. Cole Promain was there and spoke with some of the grads.
Close to 240 grads took turns lining up in front of St. Pat's for the chance to take photos with their families and walk up to the front of the school to accept their diplomas.
And next we have Kaylee Morriso, who will be attending the University of Windsor Psychology program.
Each grad had their name announced over the loudspeakers along with what their plans are moving forward. After taking photos and videos in front of the school, the students would go on to collect a bag of grad items and even a graduation cupcake. The second and third floor windows of the school were covered with inspiring messages, and the outdoor ceremony took nearly the entire day to get through all the grads. St. Pat's Vice Principal Frank Roberto says making sure this day of recognition occurred was very important.
It means everything. You know, they put in 4 years, and to not be able to honor them, it was sad. So we really put forth an effort. We had a huge graduating committee together, and we have an amazing staff, and they helped put this together, and the kids really deserve it. It feels fantastic. It's you know, you almost can't put it into words that, you know, they persevered through all this, and in these circumstances, you know, they came through, and they did what they needed to, and they're here today.
All of the students who received their diploma took a moment standing in front of the school steps where they had their photo taken, as well as a video which will be put together to make a virtual convocation. Reina Falzetta and Megan Clark both say their teacher's effort speaks volumes.
It's really cool. It's very different from what I expected, and obviously very different from what I expected this year to go, but I'm really glad that our teachers put in so much effort for us this year.
It means a lot to me, especially because of what's happened this year, and they did a lot of hard work to make this happen for us. So it makes me feel, I don't know, really happy, I guess.
The virtual grad video will be posted on YouTube on the evening of June 25th. Cole Permain, TBT News.
Very cool. And I said it the other day, every time we do a graduation ceremony on the news, it's always a beautiful day and the conditions look amazing. But Cole, thankfully they had it this morning because conditions were changing later on in the day.